Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we are going to be continuing Naruto Polaris Shippuden, What If Hanabi Hyuga Had Been Born First, Part 15. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. As we go into part 15, you could say that we are about to enter into the final portion of the story, as the next parts from 16 to 20 will cover the final parts of the Naruto Shippuden part of this story. Some of you have been asking, will we continue into the Boruto era? The short answer is yes, but long term, we're not going to be continuing into it right away. There will be some time that passes, and once we enter into the Boruto era, this series is going to become something that I do from time to time to kind of fill in the gaps when we're not doing our main stories on the channel. But that's all you need to know going up into here, and also stay tuned as we are wrapping up a lot of stories on the channel this week, and we have some new ones coming over next week that you will be aware of, and the schedule and everything else for that will be announced in the community tab, so make sure you're staying tuned for that and everything else as we go forward, closing out the year of 2022. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Unbeknownst to Konoha, Pain was beginning to make his assault. From his fight in the Rain Village with Jiraiya, Guy, and Lee, Pain knew that in all likelihood, whatever information they had gathered about his abilities would have been taken back to Konoha for countermeasures to be made. Because of this, unlike in the original timeline, Pain could not afford to attack in a two-way front, not when they knew what he may or may not be capable of doing. Even if they hadn't revealed the full secrets of the Rinnegan, it was still better to play it safe than sorry. It meant foregoing the initial interrogation and skipping straight to the fireworks. Before beginning, Konan would slip various pieces of her paper all throughout the city. First, the paper was used as paper bombs, placing them in strategic points throughout the village, enabling them to catch them off guard in one all-out assault. However, she also used her infiltration to find where Hidan was being kept, giving the information to Kakuzu so he could free him. If they were going to attack, it was going to have to be an all-out assault to catch Konoha completely off guard and to not allow them the chance to mobilize. Once everything was set, Konan would release the explosions, the paper bombs going off instantly all throughout Konoha, as everyone had been taken by surprise. Kakashi and Guy as they were walking, Lee and his teammates as they were training, even Dosu and Sakura, who found themselves walking together to the Hokage office to take care of some paperwork. All of a sudden, the entire village would find themselves engulfed in smoke and flame, before the abrupt sound of the almighty push rung out throughout the sky. The village would be absolutely decimated, the people not knowing what had happened, and even greater damage and calamity being caused than before. Kakuzu would use the coordinates given, making his way through the village before finding where the interrogation corps were kept, slaughtering those inside and taking their hearts, as Hidan, who was still detached from his body, would be happy to see his old comrade still alive and well. Kakuzu would reattach Hidan's head, and the two of them were told to do one thing: to wreak havoc on the village. To say that things would be much worse in this scenario than before would definitely be an understatement. Kakashi and Guy, who had just managed to take cover, would immediately work to try to get any of the civilians that they could find to safety, along with other shinobi attempting to make any countermeasures where they could. Tsunade would be the most affected. She had no idea that something like this could have been coming, even with the information given to them by Jiraiya. Knowing what the leader of the Akatsuki was capable of doing, it still didn't stop them from being shook up by the attack. The various paths of pain would go through the rubble, causing more and more destruction. This was an all-out blitz, if you will, to destroy the village, leave it wrecked and ruined, and from what remained, gather whatever information they could on the Nine Tails. Even if they couldn't gain much, at the very least they had managed to strike a devastating blow before Konoha had a chance to use any of its countermeasures. Kakashi and Guy would have to split up. Of course, they didn't want to do so, but under normal circumstances, things had definitely taken a turn for the worst. Guy would go off into the main front of the village, as there were large animal summonings being summoned from the animal path, as he used his intense strength to fight them off. Lee, along with his teammates, would be rushing through trying to help anyone that they could, as they found themselves under attack as well, Lee coming face to face with Konan once again. Even Konohamaru and his team would find themselves in dire straits, as the human path began its work taking souls one by one. Even in the midst of danger, Konohamaru wasn't sure of how he was going to act or not. That was until the human path and the Ashura path, as they were making their way through a crowd of civilians, Hinata would find herself caught in the crossfire. Knowing that he couldn't leave his teammate all alone, Konohamaru, who had been doing some training with Naruto, would go in for an attack instantly. As Hinata had been trying to defend some villagers, she had found herself caught in the grips of the Naraka path, who was about to ask for the whereabouts of Naruto, and was going to use the King of Hell to get answers. However, before he could continue his onslaught, Konohamaru, along with the Shadow Clone, both using a Rasengan, would smash itself into the Naraka path, attempting to destroy it. As they had managed to do so, they thought that all was well. However, Hinata would warn Konohamaru to get out of the way, as he found himself being gripped by the throat from the human path. Konohamaru was unable to move, and there wasn't anything else that he could do. More explosions and much more chaos continued to reign. Konohamaru yelled for Hinata to get out of the way and to run. Hinata was caught in the midst of her fear. Even more so, she gathered the civilians as she could and they made their escape. The human path, while commending Konohamaru for his bravery, commented that he was still foolish to think that he could change the tide of battle. But he did recognize that jutsu, asking if he had any connection to Jiraiya. Konohamaru, while he knew of him, did not have any connection in real speaking, and that was the truth. Even more so, Konohamaru did not know anything about the whereabouts of Naruto, although unfortunately his body would fall to the ground lifeless, as his soul had been taken from the human path. In the meantime, Kakashi would try to launch a counter-assault, as like in the original timeline, he would find himself in a fight against the Deva path and the Ashura path. However, there would be no Choji or anyone to back him up, as in the midst of the chaos and the destruction and everything around him, it left him with less comrades to work with, and Guy was already fighting to try to hold off the animal summonings that just seemed to come without end. Kakashi, despite trying his best, would find himself falling in battle to the Deva path and to the Ashura path. And to make matters worse, the outer path was starting to rebuild those who had been destroyed, only adding back to the Akatsuki's ranks. Hidan and Kakazu would continue their slaughter in the meanwhile, with Lil being able to stop them. Tsunade would make her way over to the main battlefield, as she used her summoning jutsu to bring Katsuya the Slug, trying to heal those who had been injured, while trying to find the enemy to face them, along with her Anbu guard. In the midst of the battles and everything that was taking place, Konoha found itself under pure destruction. However, there was a silver lining, if you will. That being the fact that amongst all the destruction and everything that had been done, Tsunade had managed to use the Toad messenger to be sent to where Jiraiya and where Naruto were. Unlike in the original, as the Toad had been killed by Danzo in an attempt to try to keep Naruto away from Konoha, due to the destruction and the suddenty of the battle, Danzo had no choice but to reconvene with the members of Root. As such, Tsunade was free to send the message. Jiraiya and Naruto were training on Mount Miyaboku, the two of them having their training interrupted as the messenger Toad had come immediately, telling them of what had befell Konoha. As they were both shocked by this, they would gather their garb for battle before reverse summoning themselves back to the Hidden Leaf. Naruto had just barely left 2 clones back at Mount Miyaboku, enough for him to use Sage Mode with, as he already had one gathering some for him, so he had it for about 3 go-rounds solidly. As for Jiraiya, he had the usage of Ma and Pa Toad. However, as they arrived to Konoha, the damage and destruction here would be far greater than that of the original timeline. And for Naruto, as he was in Sage Mode, he was able to feel all of the deaths, all of the anguish around them. He could not sense the lives of Kakashi or Konohamaru. And even worse, he could feel another life force meeting its end. Dosu! Naruto and Jiraiya would quickly make their way to where the fighting was taking place. Tsunade had joined not too far behind. Dosu and Sakura. They had merely been caught by the rubble when Dosu had used his sound release, creating a large amplifying wave of sound to shield them. They attempted to figure out what was going on, and to try to fight back against the enemy, as Dosu found himself fighting against Kakuzu, and Sakura, using her genjutsu, was able to stun Hidan. However, he was still not someone to be taken lightly. It was Kakuzu that proved to be the real issue, as he, along with his extra hearts and their mask, were most difficult for Dosu to take out. He had only managed to beat one. However, he found himself at the mercy of Kakuzu. Sakura would have been in an even worse situation if Dosu hadn't intervened. Sakura not having much time to react, as Dosu simply told her that the best thing she could do was escape. Of course, Sakura had no intentions on doing so, and for Dosu, he wondered why he was going so far, what had led him to act this way. Sure, he had gotten friendly with some of Naruto's friends, and he even found Sakura to be tolerable, although her semi-crush for the Uchiha, even while it was waning, was a bit annoying. But yet for some reason his body found itself acting without any logic or reason, as he found himself fighting against a monster like Kakuzu. Even more so, he had no intentions on running. But why? This was not his village. This was not his home. He had no reason to be loyal to Konoha or to fight for it, and yet here he was. Using the last of his strength, Kakuzu would find that Dosu's will was not one that could be easily broken, as Kakuzu used his tendrils to try to grab away at Dosu's heart. Dosu, however, had a bit of a surprise for him. He wasn't going to go down, at least not so easily. Dosu would look back to Sakura, as Sakura had used her genjutsu to bind Hidan. She had temporarily mobilized him and left him in his own domain of darkness, a technique that of which, within this world, Sakura reigned supreme. You could say that this technique is a tribute to the domain expansion from Jujutsu Kaisen, given genjutsu form, as Sakura in this timeline never trained under Tsunade, but instead she trained under Kurenai and even worked with Kakashi, who used the Sharingan, to improve in her genjutsu ability to bring it to its absolute apex. As such, she created the genjutsu dark domain. A domain, if you will, a barrier, where once trapped inside, Sakura would bring someone into pure darkness. Of course, in this state, no one knew just how far or how long the darkness prevailed. But in this domain, Sakura's genjutsu was absolute. It would always hit. The only question was if you were strong enough to break free. Thankfully for someone like Hidan, who had no skills in ninjutsu or genjutsu, except for his very limited taijutsu and whatever his strange Jashin ritual was. In this world, Sakura was able to hold an distinct advantage. As such, Hidan was simply held in place, an endless cycle of torture within his own mind. Every time Hidan believed he had killed Sakura, he had merely found himself being killed by himself. Until he was broken free, this is where he would remain. However, Sakura, even with her genjutsu ability, there wasn't much she could offer in terms of plain offense against Kakuzu. And because of this, Dosu ordered her to leave. However, once she did so, she knew that Hidan would be broken free, and Dosu would be outnumbered and on his own. However, Dosu, he was fairly confident that he could win. He promised that everything would be alright. Sakura would leave to try to help wherever else she could. Kakuzu would comment that he knew that Dosu had no intentions on surviving, and that it would be pointless as she would be hunted down and wiped away along with this pathetic village. However, at those comments, Dosu found himself reinvigorated. He warned Kakuzu that he was not the kind of person that would just let his comrades die so easily. Even if he couldn't do much, he still had more than enough to leave a lasting impression. Of course, Kakuzu would wave off Dosu as nothing more but foolish, as his tendrils started to connect within Dosu's chest, piercing away at his heart. Dosu had thankfully stalled and gotten just enough time, as he used a technique, one that was gonna hurt like hell, but he figured it would give him the edge that he needed. Ninja art, sound amplification, inner explosion. Gathering up as much chakra as he had left within his heart would burst as a compression of sound would be released. The waves would travel through the tendrils, attacking Kakuzu's internal organs directly, attacking as many hearts as he had within himself, managing to destroy 2 of them in the process. You could say it was a bit of an even trade, if you will, in exchange for Dosu's own heart. He managed to take out 2 of Kakuzu's, forcing him to call back one of his masks, and only having 2 more to fight out, as he had now lost 2 of his 5 hearts. Dosu coughed up blood as he fell to the ground lifeless. The life was fading from his eyes. He wondered what life would be like on the other side. Was he going to have a peaceful afterlife? Or had he not done enough, and would he be forced to suffer? Hopefully, Ken and Zaku might be able to see him off. As Naruto and Jiraiya took inventory of everything happening within the village, Naruto felt an overwhelming sensation. A sense of hopelessness, of fear, and of dread, as both Naruto and Jiraiya found themselves standing before Pain. Pain would immediately send out a message calling back for the others to join him. Kakuzu would arrive, along with Hidan, who had been broken free of the genjutsu, along with Konan. All would be healed through the King of Hell, with the Naraka path. The 6 paths of pain standing strong, Hidan and Kakuzu standing strong, and Konan to back them. Tsunade couldn't believe the destruction that befell the Hidden Leaf Village, and all on her watch. Jiraiya felt an overwhelming sense of anger and hatred welling up inside of him. To see just how far Nagato had fallen, how far his disciples had fallen. It made him question his own morality. What if Orochimaru had been right? Should they have just put those kids out of their misery all the way back then? Maybe this wouldn't be happening now. Was training Nagato the wrong choice? Was because of doing that the reason that Konoha had fell into despair? However, Naruto, between losing Kakashi, feeling Dosu's life fade, and feeling all the other deaths around him, the only thing he had was anger. As he looked towards Pain, the eyes of the Nine Tails starting to take shape. Guy and Lee would join them. As Guy had finished dealing with the animal summonings, he had managed to catch up with Jiraiya, who was in Sage Mode. He asked him the whereabouts of everyone else, knowing that Sage Mode could sense those. He asked about Kakashi. However, Jiraiya would answer solemnly, and Guy would be overwhelmed with a sense of loss and sadness himself at the loss of his friend. However, everyone else paled in comparison to Naruto. As now he was feeling pain and loss for the first time. And it didn't help that Pain himself was goading him on, asking if he hated him, if this was the true extent of the Nine Tails' abilities. Naruto lashed out in anger, his body starting to undergo a transformation from the 4 tails to the 5 tails, and now he even began sprouting up to 6 tails. A monstrous red form, a form that Jiraiya had seen once before when he and Naruto had been training. Except now it was far much worser. Now there was a bigger situation at hand. Naruto had lost all control and was going off the deep end. Tsunade was still trying to help those who had been injured to heal, and they had to deal with the likes of the Akatsuki. Kakuzu would attempt to make his move, however Jiraiya would stop him in his tracks. With the help of Ma and Pa Toad in his Sage Mode, Jiraiya would be the superior combatant, along with Lee and with Guy, who would back them up as they fought against the 6 paths of pain, as well as everyone trying to wrangle in Naruto. It was a triple threat of sorts. Jiraiya, Guy, and Lee trying to fend off the Akatsuki, as well as trying to get Naruto under control. Hidan, while valiant but foolish, attempted to make a swing at Naruto. However, Naruto, slashing with only his tails, had managed to chop Hidan into pieces and leave him laying. Hidan was not too thrilled about being disembodied once again and called for Kakuzu's help, although Kakuzu was much too busy at the moment, as Guy was keeping him occupied, destroying one of his masks as he launched the Hirudora. Guy felt that he might have to go there as he opened up to the 6th gate, and Lee joined him, the two combining their attacks as they fought against the fire and the wind mask, as Kakuzu only had 2 that remained now, along with his original heart. Jiraiya would engage with the 6 paths of pain once again. However, this time, now knowing about their movements and the way they fought, he was much better able to counter them. Although, the brief interactions between the Deva path as well as Jiraiya would be quickly put to a halt as Naruto lashed out against the paths of pain, and would even find himself swinging at Jiraiya. In almost a strange twist of irony, Jiraiya and Pain almost found themselves working together from time to time, if you could believe it. The former master and student would combine a few combination techniques, attempting to try to wrangle in Naruto. However, only to engage in a flurry of attack themselves. It was a free-for-all. The weaker paths of Pain would be destroyed almost instantly. And before long, only the Deva path remained, along with Konan. He would warn that Konan should get out of here, as he was going to attempt to stop all of this. He was going to bind and hold everyone in place. Clasping his hands together, he would attempt to use the Shabaku Tensei, as Naruto only continued to grow, his tails reaching up to the 7, his body increasing in size as the 9 tails was slowly starting to escape. Jiraiya would try to move away as the ground and the earth itself started to be pulled up from under him. Using Gamabunta, he would attempt to move out of the range of the meteorite that was forming. Lee and Guy would also try to move out of the way to safety as well. Guy preparing to open up the 7th gate, and maybe if necessary the 8th. However, Lee would warn that if he did so, he'd be going too far, but Guy wasn't sure what else to do. It seemed as though everyone and everything was failing them. Naruto and the 9 tails was about to be unleashed, and Pain was using this incredible jutsu. It might take the power of the 8 tails to put it all to an end. Of course, in the midst of everything, Naruto would be fighting a war of anger and the vitriol in his own mind. Feeling all of the pain and the loss, the death and the anguish, it was almost too much for Naruto to bear. This version of Naruto took loss very seriously, for he knew that the value of a life was one that could not be replaced, whether leading a mission or defending a friend. For Naruto, when a life was lost, that was it. And now, and because of him, so many lives have been lost in Konoha. Friends, allies, all lie dying or helpless, and he felt powerless to do anything to stop it. Like in the original, as Naruto's seal began to unravel almost at a much quicker pace, as he found himself being tempted by the power of the 9 tails, he would be intervened and saved by the vestige of the spirit of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, or Naruto's father, as a better way of putting it. Like in the original, Minato would still save Naruto, as he helped his son regain his fighting spirit, one that had been broken almost greater than before. And for Minato, he couldn't blame him. Even in his current state, he too felt hatred for the one who had destroyed the village, and for the pain that it caused his son. However, he assured Naruto that even in loss, things could be rebuilt. And in doing so, Naruto, he would see and feel a familiar spirit around him. He remembered Hanabi. He remembered how, even in his lowest of times, she always encouraged him to keep going, to never give up and to never turn back. He remembered that and knew that if she were here, she wouldn't allow him to give up so easily. And that if he gave in to despair, if he let the 9 tails take over, then all truly would be lost. He owed it to everyone to fight, and to not give in to his own self-doubt. With this added encouragement, Naruto would be able to regain composure and control. Entering into Sage Mode, Naruto and Jiraiya would defeat the last Pain. Even still, the damage had been great, and the loss plentiful. Naruto and Jiraiya would still have the idea, though, to use one of the chakra receiving rods in order to reverse track where Pain had been hiding, the real Pain. Together, master and student would leave to the hideout that wasn't too far from the village. In doing so, both Jiraiya and Naruto would confront Nagato and Konan. Naruto trying his best to hold in the anger that he felt, and Jiraiya doing the same. You could say that this would lead to a double dose of talk no jutsu, but it wasn't that simple. No, Naruto, while he did speak to holding to his convictions, would condemn Nagato heavily. Mainly because Nagato's viewpoint and the way he went about things was wrong. And just why do you think that my actions are wrong, Naruto? Is it wrong of me to seek vengeance upon those who have wronged me? You say that I am wrong because I killed those who are innocent. But let me ask you, were my people no more innocent? Were the people of my village also not looking for peace? But did the great nations care? No. Jiraiya Sensei has seen it for himself, for he too also participated in the atrocities against my nation. When it comes to those who are smaller, their voices are never heard. We're seen only as a problem when we step out of line. But I believe that what's given should also be returned in kind. They look at the Akatsuki, and they say that we are wrong for what we do. But does anyone hold the Kages to account? A village? If a Hokage decides that another nation should be invaded, it's done so without delay, and no one bats an eye, Naruto. Or if the Sand Village decides that it wishes to march its army through another smaller nation, no one stands against them. You may not like my methods, but I could say just the same for you. Naruto would be left for a loss. Having been raised to think a lot more logically and more critically, he couldn't refute what Nagato was saying. In the end, as much as he hated him, as much as he loathed his existence, what right did he have to be angry? After all, had the Hidden Leaf not also participated in wrongdoing? Even Jiraiya was amazed by Nagato's words, as he himself had participated in those very atrocities. So how could he be so self-righteous as to claim what Nagato was doing was wrong? For a while there was a silence, no one sure of what to say or what to do next. However, Naruto would speak up. He would then say that, even still, when did it end? When did this hatred? When would the cycle come to an end? If it took knowing pain to truly understand one another, then couldn't they say that they were even now? Of course, Nagato had thought about this, but Naruto went further. If fighting pain with more pain was really the only option, then everyone will hurt. Truly, if the cycle was ever going to come to an end, it was going to be a matter of one person having the strength to walk away. And with that, Naruto was preparing to do just so. Nagato asked what Naruto planned on doing. Jiraiya also wondered what Naruto's next actions would be. Naruto took out a kunai and he held it to his own gut. Jiraiya would warn Naruto not to do anything reckless, and Nagato asked what Naruto planned on doing. Naruto explained that if he truly wanted retribution, then he would have it. The Nine Tails would die here and now. He couldn't allow the Akatsuki to get what they wanted. That was something that just wasn't going to happen. But at the same time, atonement had to be given. So why not the life of the Jinchuriki? If Naruto died, the Nine Tails would die as well, and it would have to reform. That way, if it did come back, then that would give both sides enough time to decide on what they should do going forward. Of course, one could say that this very notion was something that had been done a long time ago by another man who would go on to become a Hokage. Of course, Jiraiya was amazed at Naruto's resolve, his resolve to make peace, and that he would use his own life and put it on the line. Even Nagato was impressed with Naruto's resolve, being moved by it, moved that Naruto, despite everything he had suffered, still had the will to pursue peace, and even more so, that he had the resolve to see it through down till the end, even if it meant sacrificing his dream. Because of this, Nagato would tell Naruto to put down his blade, and that it wouldn't be necessary. He had seen Naruto's resolve for change, and he only hoped that in his final moments, he could match that resolve. He would use the Rinne rebirth and bring back all those who had died from the attack, from Konohamaru to Kakashi to Dosu. Everyone would be brought back to life, although it would come at the cost of his own. Even still, he didn't think that it was all that much of a loss, because in the end, maybe Naruto was the true one of prophecy, the child who could truly bring about peace in this world. With that, Nagato would use Rinne Rebirth, and that would bring the end to his life. Konan would be moved to tears, as now she had lost both Yahiko and Nagato, and Jiraiya for the loss of his student. Even if misguided, he was still one of conviction, and a shinobi nonetheless. As the people of Konoha were brought back to life, that still left the matter of what Konan was going to do in the meantime. However, she promised that she were going to be leaving the Akatsuki, and that since Nagato and Yahiko had died, the only one who could carry on their dream would be Naruto and Jiraiya, and she hoped that Naruto would be the change needed in the world. With that, Konan would take the bodies of her friends and take them back to the Rain Village to be put to rest, as Naruto and Jiraiya, master and student, would make their way back to the Hidden Leaf Village. Although they were both extremely tired from the events of the day and everything that had transpired, they would be given some help, as Lee, Guy, and Kakashi would greet them, helping them make their way back to Konoha, as they would be seen as heroes. However, out of everyone's cheering, of everyone's approval, there was one Kunoichi that was waiting for Naruto with bated breath, as she rushed towards him, having returned from her mission only to see the destruction of her home. After reconvening with her family and with her sister, the other thing that Hanabi had to make sure of was the safety of Naruto, The young Hyuga was moved to tears as he arrived, as she had feared the worst, grabbing him and pulling him into a deep hug, and Naruto reciprocating. Of course, Dosu was grateful to be alive, and he had gotten the chance to say his goodbyes to those whom he had lost along the way. And he was given encouragement to live and find purpose in his life again, to not be filled with hatred, but instead to find his own inner peace. Of course, as the people were cheering on for Naruto, Dosu didn't want to be caught up in a crowd. However, as he was preparing to leave, he found someone giving their arm for support. He looked over and saw a pink-haired girl helping him forward. It was Sakura. Of course, he could have said something, but nothing needed to be said, as they both helped one another walk. As the people of Konoha cheered for their hero, in the midst of Konoha overcoming its tragedy, there were still other plays that were at work. For our story is far from over, as outside of the edge of the Cloud Village, a boy in a Akatsuki garb leaves the scene of a battle, carrying a large shinobi on his back, black flames layering the ground around him. Sasuke Uchiha was at work, and he had just completed his first mission, capturing the Eight Tails. As now the Akatsuki were preparing to make their next move. Even with the losses and the setbacks, the stage was being set as the world was about to shift into its next major battle. A war that would ravage all of the nations. This concludes Naruto Polaris Shippuden, What If Hanabi Hyuga Was Born First, Part 15. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting stats to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Naruto, Tale of Two Sages, What If Naruto Was Luis's Familiar, Part 12. And also stay tuned for our afternoon/evening video as we will be doing a review of the Chainsaw Man anime episode 4. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.